Welcome to the Thriving Through podcast. Today, we're diving into the journey of transitioning from corporate strategist to independent consultant with Oksana Matviichuk, CEO of OM Strategic Forecasting. If you've ever wondered what it really takes to succeed as a consultant, this episode is packed with honest insights. Oksana shares the surprising truth about what actually caused her business struggles. Hint, it isn't what she expected. How she approaches marketing differently than other consultants, and why your personal mindset may be the biggest obstacle to your business growth. Stay tuned for practical advice you can implement immediately in your consulting practice. Let's dive in. Welcome to this episode of the Thriving Through podcast. Today, my guest is Oksana Matviichuk. Hope I got that right. You are the founder and CEO of OM Strategic Forecasting. So welcome, Oksana. We're delighted to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, we'll launch right into some questions. Tell me about your path to becoming a self-employed consultant.
Yes, so I spent whole my life with advertising agencies. So it's about 20 years, and I started with a local agency way back home. I'm originally Ukrainian. And then I evolved my career into moving to the United States. And through all my journey, I know the agency business like 100%. So everything which is happening in the agency. And also I know similarly well, the agency business of the creative agency, media agency, and digital agency. So they start to merge by now, but back way then they were different type of businesses. So this is how I started with the operations role. So I started as a manager, and that is why I know so well what's happening in the agency. And then when I moved to the United States, I already was senior enough to understand the operations excellence will always be about the same thing. So I wanted to do something more challenging, I would say, and that is why I choose strategy. And when I came to the US, it was about a decade ago. There was a very big demand for B2B strategy, and I'll let a little bit later explain why. So I deep dive into this very exciting, complex, and new space for the agencies. And this is how I became a global strategy lead, and I worked with IBM. I worked with Dell EMC, I worked with Verizon, with Lenovo in this capacity. So I launched a lot of B2B brand campaigns, which were new at that time. So now it kind of became a market practice, but way back then, it was new. And this is how I acquired all the skills which now I am leveraging in strategic forecasting. So a lot of the things that challenges that I saw during my corporate career, that this is what I'm answering right now with the portfolio of strategic forecasting. So this was my journey.
Okay, wonderful. Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is a mid-sized company which is going through disruption by either market change, audience change, or technology change. And the best moment to start is when the company already is understanding that they're doing the things which worked in the past. However, like the numbers are not right. And oftentimes the companies, they don't understand what's off yet. And this is kind of this limbo or plateau state where they found themselves is. So this is the 100% right time, and the time where if the strategy is right or if the strategy is revised, this is where when they can actually get the maximum out of the strategy, because like there is a step forward where the numbers are already down, and this is where the company have to go into the survival mode. And this is still where the strategy would work, and maybe the need for the strategy will be much higher. However, like when the company is in the limbo plateau, this is where it's a good time, it's the right time to look at the strategy and to see what needs to be changed.
Okay. So the clue that they have that they need your services or that might trigger them to come out and find you is that their numbers are down.
Yes. This is typically what the companies see, but we need to understand like which numbers are down. So for instance, the company can see that the average sale goes down. So this is a red flag. The company sees that the sales cycle became noticeably longer, so like 30% longer. If you used to sell for 3 months, now you're selling for 4 months, for instance. So this is something minus the seasonality, of course, something that needs to raise an alarm with the executive management. Or, for instance, some of the services which were a part of each client portfolio last year now is not in that demand. So this is also something to look at the portfolio of the services and to get the feedback from the clients and to look to the market to see what could be the reasons for that.
Okay, wonderful. Switching gears a little bit, looking back, what would you do differently if you were starting your consulting business today?
I think what I would do differently, and I learned it hard way, so I would secure more clients prior to like the actual launch of my business, because basically, given that for all my life I was a part of the structure where the functions of the sales and new business typically was covered by my peers, and I was a part of it, but I was a part of it as a strategic person who was offering solution. But of course, I had the visibility on like how we are bringing leads and how we are working with them. And that was one of the illusions, that I thought that I knew this process similarly well, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned kind of like the hard way that I didn't. And this is something that I would recommend like everyone who's thinking about the business. So I think the way I think of a business now, like 2.5 years in, right? So the business is your sales and your execution, and sales always comes first. And I think that this is one of the like honest questions I would encourage like founders, or I would advise founders to ask themselves, would be how comfortable are they with the sales? Because if they are, like probably like the shape of the business or the trajectory would be slightly different. Mm-hmm. And I think that another recommendation that I would have is to think about the like counterpart, because what typically happens is that like, people are different and people are typically good at one set of skills. So if this is sales, probably the execution would be challenging. Or if this is execution, similar like in my case, the sales might be challenging. So in that sense, I think look for the partnerships, or look for the people you can engage with your business who would be either doing the sales or more focused on execution. So something that is not your cup of tea, you really need to find a counterpart who will actually enjoy this cup of tea, which you don't. So that would be definitely my outcome.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The one of the shocking things when you become a self-employed consultant is the number of hats you have to wear.
Mhm.
And we're not necessarily good at the sales and marketing or the, financial part. And we like, and I like your recommendation that, one option is that we get good at all of the hats. Another option is to recognize that there are functions that you're not particularly good at. Instead of getting good at them, you find someone to partner with that's good at that, and you're good at what you do. And then together you become a well-rounded business. What has been the most rewarding aspect of being a self-employed consultant?
I think that the most rewarding aspect was the opportunity to do the business the way you see fit. Because oftentimes when you're a part of a larger corporation and of a larger team, so to survive, the corporation has a very clear set of rules and oftentimes limitation. So when the joint effort prevails the initiative of each particular individual. And it's not bad, it's just the way the corporations are. So I think that the most rewarding thing when you're a consultant is truly the opportunity to run the business the way you see fit. So it means that if you think that this particular job requires such amount of effort, you put them. And this is something that, I think cause a huge difference in between like how you work for a corporation and how you work for yourself. I think what comes with this, like with power comes great responsibility, right? So sometimes you come to a realization that like the things has been done in a certain way for a certain reason, right? So I think that this is like on one end, you need to build, you have an opportunity to build your practice the way you see fit. However, then you're taking the responsibility. So if you're putting the long hours into your service, it means that they need to be, so you need to charge the client, and you need to bring the client the value of your effort in the first place, and to persuade and to actually sell this value to the client. And only then your efforts are making sense. And oftentimes, not every client would require such deep level of effort from the agency side or such deep level of strategy. So for some clients, the direction actually is sufficient enough. And some clients are requiring really a deep dive, and learning how to differentiate both and how to thrive with both, so to deliver the actual outcome. This is something which you learn with the with being like a boss to yourself.
Okay. Was the biggest mindset shift you had to make when transitioning from corporate life to independent consulting?
I think that the biggest life shift that I had to make was to actually acknowledge that myself, so me, and my set of beliefs about like the business, the clients, the world in general, are the biggest limitation of growth of my business. And I think that this is something that really, so this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs are facing, because again, like when you're in corporation, you have a certain set of rule and it's easier to navigate. So once you understand how it works, it's about mastering the navigation. When you're making your own business, I think that there are two kinds of people. So there are people who are starting their career with making a business and they just make the next one better, better, and better, right? So when you choose a corporate life and you do better every time then, but then you shift to a totally new environment. And to your point, AJ, you need to wear multiple hats and you need to figure out which hats should you wear and which things should you delegate. And then it really becomes a mindset. So your biggest enemy and your biggest rival. Because the level of the clients you're pursuing, the level of the pricing you're putting on your services, how you present your company. So all those things are coming from the mindset. And I think that this is what I had a certain thoughts that was this way, but when I started to actually do run my consulting company, I very intimately faced all those challenges. And I think one of my favorite examples in that is Mel Robbins, and in her book Let Them. She has this episode when she's saying that, I wanted to become a motivational speaker, and everyone told me that post on social media. And basically, we all know what to do to promote our businesses. But she honestly acknowledges that it took her a couple of years to work internally, with herself, or to come to an agreement with herself to actually start doing this. And I think that this is the major challenge that everyone should be aware of. Look at your mindset first and work with your mindset first, and it will be much, much easier for you to get to the growth trajectory. So that would be my takeaway.
I absolutely agree with you. I have seen more, well, the statistics show that small businesses in general and self-employed consultants and specifically, a large majority percent of them fold after a year or two, and not very many get to 5 years. And I believe from all of my work with consultants, I believe that mindset piece is the biggest thing, because our mind is really good at making us doubt ourselves, making us second guess, good old imposter syndrome, the negative self-talk. All of that rears up when we are in an uncomfortable situation. And by definition, when we are starting our own business, it is uncomfortable. So I'm curious, you recognize that your mind was not your best friend. It was in a lot of cases, your enemy. How did you make that shift to a more positive mindset?
I think I was blessed with a lot of changes in my life, through my life. And the immigration experience helps a lot. Just because what happens in the immigration is that you literally start from scratch. So you're in a foreign country with foreign rules and language. And basically you accept that you're vulnerable, because oftentimes opening a bank account is a huge challenge and then a huge achievement. So I think that going through that experience actually helped me to embrace my new role. So that was one piece of the puzzle.
Mhm.
And another piece of the puzzle was the fact that since I moved countries, I moved jobs a lot. So every time it's an adjustment, and every time you make an adjustment, you do it better. And of course, such things as coaching, mentorship, and therapy, they were my very good friends, and they still are. And this is what I would encourage: to find your mentor, to find your coach, because typically what happens, and this is how life now becomes, that you need someone who will guide you or steer you through this path. And you definitely have a chances to do it on your own, but this is a matter of time. So when you have a guide on your journey, so the person who already did it or has a huge track record of teaching other people how to do it, I think this is something that you need to embrace and to accept. So accepting help from everyone. And when you start your own business, you'll be surprised how many people or your friends will actually be trying to help you. And I think one of the, like acknowledgements that it's real was when my friends started to call me and say like, hey, I know that you have your consultancy, like I have this situation, or a friend of mine has this situation, so what would you recommend, right? So this is how it becomes real. So I would encourage you to get help. I would encourage you to get guidance, and be open to change, especially when you're shifting from the corporate to your own business. Basically, it's an immigration in its own way.
Right. I like that comparison. And I can see with all of the changes in jobs and immigrating, moving countries, how that has built in some resilience and flexibility in you that not everybody has, especially if someone has stayed in the same company for a number of years. So that is an important thing to build, is that ability to be flexible and resilient. So do you have go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, and I think it's really interesting. So I wouldn't, and this is part of the mindset shift. So I wouldn't actually consider staying in one company to be not beneficial for a person, because if you think about it from the stability lens, so if the person were staying in the company for a decade, for instance, what it meant most probably is that the person was comfortable enough there. And what it actually means is that the amount of resources and energy to put into a hobby or into something else was also much more in comparison if you were like, changing the things every other year or so. So I think that the people who are within the same environment, they actually have a benefit which is not visible on the first side. They have the benefit of stability. And if you think about the world as a stable place which acts in a certain ways, you have much more chances to have this world around you and to create. It's all like about vibration and everything, right? So I think that I wouldn't divide it, or I wouldn't allocate it to, not beneficial thing to stay in one place. I would just look at it differently. Like, what did it give me? It gave me like 10 years of stability. And I think that, like, from my perspective, I truly can appreciate it a lot. Like 10 years of stability and knowing what tomorrow brings you. And just coming from such, like such a harbor, I would say, into this open sea of the consulting, like you really are like well rested and have a lot of energy in you and everything. So I would shift the mindset a little bit into that direction about those people.
Okay. I want to go back to the business coach, your recommendation. Do you currently have a business coach?
Yes.
And how did you go about finding that person?
I think it's about like when the student is ready, the master will appear. So I've been working with the same person for almost a decade right now. So I really wanna um like give this testimonial to how beneficial it is. Because when you work with one person for such a long time, it's like, first of all, when you find like your person, so the person you're resonating with, the person who sees like your progress or sees your challenges, which is even more important, right? And when you have this and build this relationship, so this is where compound effect comes into place. And definitely I would like recommend finding the person and building a long-lasting relationships, because this is when the coaching really works. Because like taking 2 or 3 sessions or even like 6 months of sessions, it can be beneficial, it can be very tactical and can help you, but if you're talking about sustainable growth of yourself as an individual, I think this is where you really need to find your person and where you really need to invest into like long-term relationship.
Okay. I want to switch into marketing. What marketing approaches have been most effective for you, and which ones surprised you by not working?
Public relations worked the best for me. I think that this is what, given how accessible the content is right now, I think this is the way where a lot of consultancy find beneficial, because the way the consultancy work is about the thought leadership building. So once you build yourself as a thought leader in a certain space, this is what makes your pursuing of consultancy like legitimate, basically, right? So I think that public relation would be my recommendation number one. And when I say public relation, I just want a clear differentiation. So it's not like posting every day. So it's really strategy, and this strategy basically it's built on like the products you have, and then like the way to represent this products through the thought leadership. So I think this is probably would be the marketing tool that works number one for me. When we are saying
And
about,
I want to clarify here. So you're not necessarily talking about like press releases.
No.
But you're talking about posting on social media.
So what I'm talking about finding the format. So press release like definitely will work, but you need to understand like what the press release will be about. So I think the way I think about the public relations, so you have like one major story you're telling to the market, to your clients and to your peers, and then you're choosing as more pieces how you deliver the message. So for instance, for myself, I found that like Forbes expert panel and Forbes Agency Council, so this is what they do. And so I do my best to showcase the expertise in their articles. With the peers, so we discuss, for instance, one topic, and then they have a snippets of the insights from like all who participated in the discussion. So this is one way to get the visibility. Participating in the podcast, it would be another one. Writing a book would be also a very good tool. So I was co-authoring one of the books, which became a USA Today bestseller. And now I'm working on my book on immigration. So it's less about the consultancy, but it's also about the thought leadership, because immigration is all about disruption, is all about finding new ways and adjustment or adaptation to the new environment. So I think that not direct things such as like 12 press releases or 24, God forbid, press releases for a year, right? But finding the environment where your thought leadership would shine. This is what builds builds basically the personal brand. And in terms of like effort and result, it takes comparatively minimum effort into the result which it builds. So that is why I love the public relations, because, for instance, like the book which I was co-authoring, it was, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago, right? So I can build on that right now and in any moment of time, right? So this is an effort put, and then again, the compounding in interest. So I think that finding such opportunities to shine would be one way, and another to have the actual stories. So to form the narrative, how you want to be seen by the clients, by the audience, as a personal brand, as a company, as an individual, and then to promote with every opportunity. So this is what I call the public relations for me.
Okay. Yeah, public relations is a much less known marketing strategy for self-employed consultants. I mean, right now, it's all social media marketing, all digital marketing, and to look at it a little bit differently. I mean, certainly in traditional corporations, PR is a really important element. So I appreciate your point of view on that, because it's a new angle for consultants to look at. What's your process for qualifying prospects to ensure they're a good fit for your services?
So my qualification process. So I have an assessment, and I have an assessment as a value that I'm giving for free. But then after the assessment, so I have like a 3 months subscription, and so this is basically where the qualification happens. So if I can see that during this subscription, the client and the marketing team and the executive team that are curious enough and want to move forward, and they are excited about the things which are changing and things which might be changed in the future. So this is where the qualification happens. So I think that I found quite beneficial for the consultancy way to qualify once the subscription is in place, because because basically, like all other ways, they don't work. So of course, like I have a funnel which so has a lead magnet, which is assessment for sustainable growth, and then there is a PR, by the way, subscription. And during this subscription, I really explore whether there is a fit to move forward to the actual methodology, transformational methodology, which I offer. So this is, I think, quite a good way to explore the demand first before hunting and put all the efforts into hunting and qualifying.
Okay, so you do have an assessment and then you direct them into it. Could you characterize or would you characterize your 3-month program as sort of a way for them to trial or test drive you for
Yeah, yeah,
relatively low cost?
yes.
And then once you know if there's a fit and if they've got the right values for you, then you move them into what, a year long or a retainer? Where do you move from the 3 months?
So from the 3 months, I think I moved to the 6 months, and this is where we are much more in strategy, because the way it works, the assessment that I have, this is the assessment about like readiness to sustainable growth, and it has 3 components. So it has the component of how well do you have your business processes to set up? Because a lot of companies are now about the automation, but before automate. So if the business process within the company are chaotic, so you will basically automate and multiply a lot of chaotic like things, right? So that is why I think like where I apply my operational expertise is to truly understand like what can be optimized. So clarifying and optimization of the business processes comes first, and then comes automation. And then we with the client understand where AI can be beneficial. I mean, today, of course, like every day, it's much more proficient, so it becomes much more beneficial. But still, we need to understand in terms of the positioning, how we are positioning this. So whether it's like AI and an efficient solution for their clients of the clients, right? For their audience, or this is like human curated effort, and we just delegate a lot of like repetitive work to the AI, right? And so those are 2 pieces. And the third piece is the reputation piece, because without the reputation built and the story told to the market, it's very hard to get the clients for any company now. So those are like 3 things. And to give the client tangibility of the effort, so the 3-month subscription, mostly it focuses on the reputation building. So what it allows to do, it allows to understand like allows to understand the result, so the client has a tangible result, and allows to understand a lot of values, to your point, AJ, and like plans of the company and all of that. So 3 months is enough. And then if the client is really into continuation, then this is where 6 months like strategic subscription already comes in.
Okay. What percent of people or people within the companies go from the 3-month into a longer contract with you? What's your conversion rate?
It's not big currently, so I would say that this is about like 10% maybe.
Okay.
However, I think that why this is happening, it's partially because so when I started my company, it was 2.5 years ago. My first idea was to offer the EI strategy, because what's happening right now is that a lot of companies, they are taking a low-hanging fruit, which is totally understandable. So first of all, everyone was automating sales. So now you cannot go to LinkedIn not being bombarded by 10 or 20 automated sales messages. And then people realized, and I think it was a quiet conversation on LinkedIn, but it was that for the companies who has quite a limited target group of peers, so they found themselves that already, okay, so we did this automated outreach, but then people actually don't want to talk to us, right? So that was a certain challenges that people like faced during the automation. Then the marketing came in. then the companies were successful in sales, but execution was not ready, right? And I think that's similar to the way we all had shifted from into digital world. So first of all, we were leveraging, like, we need a website, then we need an advertising campaign, right? But after a certain period of time, and it was long period of time, we could afford ourselves a long period of time, people started to talk about the digital strategy. So me as a strategist, I saw the same absolutely pattern, and I was trying to sell the AI strategy way back 2 years ago. And the market was not ready because ChatGPT was nice and fluffy, if I can say so, right? And people were not real in full realization, like how fast is going to change everything. And I think that this is maybe like the first year where people are actually taking and speaking out loud about the AI strategy. So some of the companies did have the AI strategy for 2025, or they were making AI strategy as a part of their overall 2025 strategy. But I think that 2026 will be different because everyone will have it. And then the conversion rate will be much higher just because people will understand like what it is and why do we need this? Because now we have a universe of all the AI tools which we can use. And every day we have even more of that. And now we have ecosystems who are trying. So we used to have, the transcribing of the meetings we used to have as a separate app, right? So now everyone does this, and a lot of such like merging and acquisition will be happening. So I think that this is about the market readiness, and so I hope that like this autumn will be different in terms of the conversion, just because people will need it much more than today or last year.
Okay. Last question. What is the most impactful book that you've read recently?
Can I do 2 books?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that one of the books which really admired me and in terms of the prospect shift was planning your year not on a yearly cadence but in 12 weeks. So I think that this is especially now in the AI age, and especially like when you're thinking about your consultancy, you really need to think on much shorter time frames. And this book also gives a very good understanding about the responsibility, like having the responsibility, taking the responsibility for achieving your goals.
And you're talking about the 12-week year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I just I didn't remember.
Yeah, that was a great book. Very, very provocative.
Yes. So this is one, and the second one, I think there is a book which name is like Pumpkin Entrepreneur. So this is a book about like how to structure the finances of your business and how to pay yourself first. And I think that given that, like, however far are you from the like finance, so you think about yourself being not a finance person, when you're about your consultancy and your business, those are like the basics which you need to understand first before you're delegating the rest to like the accountant team or the finance or like to the finance experts. So I think that those 2 books I would recommend to everyone who is thinking about starting your own business. So the 12 weeks year will put you on the pace, or will demonstrate the pace with which you will be running your business, or you're supposed like to be running your business. And the second book will tell you about the structure, how the business works in terms of the finances.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for those recommendations. And that is a wrap for the podcast episode today. Thank you again, Oksana, for being my guest here on the Thriving Through podcast.
Thank you, AJ, for having me, and I hope that insights will help our audience to thrive in their consultancy practices.
Thank you. What a fantastic conversation with Oksana Matviichuk. These are the three key takeaways I hope you will remember from our discussion today. First, your mindset is absolutely critical to your success as a consultant. As Oksana shared, me and my set of beliefs about the business, the clients, the world in general, are the biggest limitations of growth in my business. Take time to examine your own beliefs and work with a coach or mentor to overcome limiting perspectives. 2, consider thought leadership through public relations as your primary marketing strategy. Instead of just posting on social media, look for opportunities to demonstrate your expertise through industry publications, podcasts, or even writing a book. And 3, create a structured qualification process for new clients. Oksana's approach of using a 3-month initial engagement allows both parties to evaluate fit before committing to a longer-term relationship. Here are some actions you can take right now. 1, identify one limiting belief you hold about your business and challenge it. 2, look for one thought leadership opportunity in your industry. And 3, consider how you might structure a trial engagement with potential clients. Remember that success in consulting isn't just about your expertise. It's about your approach to business development, client qualification, and your own mindset. If you liked this podcast, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and please review it on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. And until next time, keep thriving through.